If you were to build an in-house content marketing team again, where would you start? What roles and capabilities are vital on the team?
Where I see really successful content strategists and sort of content change makers fall down is not having executives. So I think the most essential, I've experienced this personally, the most important person when you're doing something new is your executive sponsor. So the first one for me is the content strategist. If you've only got one person, and I pity this poor person that's going to run a whole content operation, but somebody ideally from a journalistic background or some other, I mean, look, you don't have to pigeonhole them as a journalist. I've seen some very, very good content editors, not from a journalistic perspective. Someone who has that innate storytelling ability and the ability to marry it up with commercials. I think from there, the next person I'd employ is a content editor because I think it's unrealistic. And look, for smaller organizations starting out, they may be one and the same person. But if we have a strategist who's doing all of the change management, the strategy, thinking across paid, owned, earned channels, I think then trying to have them lead a fairly detailed, editorial process is a bit tough. Next off the rank for me, search, data, and digital unicorn. And I think putting digital on the end of that's unfair. To start with, what I want is a search and data person who can really help me unpack the customer journey, customer intent, etc., so that we then know what content we're going to produce. And I guess that's why I've put data ahead of, say, digital or social, because until you know what the end state again looks like and what you're going to produce, there's no point thinking about how you're going to amplify it. I think from there in, I've probably got digital next. A digital I'm using extremely broadly. And by this, I mean somebody who is going to help build this owned platform that all of our content is going to live on. So that then has all of your bag of, UX, digital, everything else that sits within that. Then I've got social. How are we going to distribute this content? And they may be looking at other third-party tools that do not typically sit within social, but it's a distribution person with a really deep specialization in social. That's the sort of core team and leadership team for me. And we've already got quite a few headcount and we haven't really produced any content yet.
I love it though. It makes sense from top down and you can see how that would all play together.
But look, you asked for my utopian view. So go, let's make this really fun. So next, I'm recruiting a journo or journos. I'm training all of the journos in search. And by search, I mean, look, they don't need to be doing website audits. It's really around keywords and how to optimize a piece of content. And journos, I've found really, they pick this up so well. They're natural storytellers. They want to know how to get the maximum bang for their buck. They just haven't been exposed to this in journo land before. So I've got journos there. Next, I've got a designer, because how do we all know we need to be atomizing content. We'll find a black unicorn designer that can do infographics, social tiles, animated videos, the whole shebang, but somebody to bring it to life visually. I mean, look, I would have had data visualization also, and these next tier are in no particular order. I think data visualization for me is such a big one now in terms of how do we actually make really complex information snackable and engaging and atomizable, and that's a real skill set. I've got audio and I've got video as key skill sets. And then I've got PR and earned media, thinking again about how do we amplify and distribute. So that is for me my utopian content marketing team. And I would also have them then really connected into the performance marketing team, the broader marketing team, the sales team. We're not creating this sort of siloed activity. Like, it's around that interconnectivity. And in some ways, I mean, people often say to me, where does content live? And this team could live within a sales team. It could live within the brand team. It could live within marketing. I don't actually think it matters. The only risk, I think, sometimes where I've seen it in brand is I find it tends to be a bit more focused on reputation and NPS and the like, and not that that's wrong, but from a sustainability perspective, I can tell you it's a lot easier when you turn up and say, we did that and delivered that much in sales, rather than we increased NPS. But I think you also then run the risk that if it sits in the sales team that's so focused on short-term activation, you don't have the brand building. So I think and it almost goes back to that leadership again for me. I mean, I'm sort of agnostic as long as it's straddling and really deeply connected with all of these departments and working in unison. I don't actually care where it sits to some degree.
Yeah, I think it's always an interesting question and conundrum, something I'm often asked as well. But oftentimes I found it is, yeah, sometimes it's in with digital, sometimes it's just separate in its own function, but working really closely with digital performance marketing and CX, as you say. I think as long as they've got the right strategy and the leadership and you've got a collaborative culture, then it doesn't matter too much.
And you can't decouple it. I mean, so if we're talking about where social lives, I go social for bigger organisations. I mean, they're working hand in glove with the customer service team, if not training the customer service team in how do you work. So I think we end up now, we could make an argument for most departments to sit somewhere. And I think we almost just need to break this down and go to your point. How do we collaborate in an agile and efficient manner, forgetting about where we live?
You've been listening to Lean Mean Marketing Teams with Ty Hayes. If you love the show, please remember to hit subscribe so that you can discover more tips and strategies to build a high-performance marketing team. And if you're feeling generous, please tell someone about the show who you think would benefit. We're on a mission to help CMOs build their dream team and enable marketers to do their best work. And we appreciate your help in spreading the word.